Now we're going to talk about scales and modes that don't belong to any particular key. They have their own key. In the case of the diminished scale, if we take a diminished chord, which is a succession of minor third, the diminished scale has a whole step, half step interval, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, always the same thing. I could keep going, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, etc., etc. So just practice, for instance, start practicing like a little more than one octave. When you get good at it, you can keep going because it's always the same fingering and the same interval. So it's easy to play what I call position. When you play a diminished chord, because of the fact that it's a succession of minor thirds, when you play C diminished, you have the same note than E flat diminished, or F sharp diminished, or A. So when you play one diminished chord, you're kind of playing four of them. It just depends on the route you're choosing. So if there is 12 tone in music, if C, E flat, F sharp, and A are the same, so if I divide 12 by 4, I'm going to have only 3 diminished chords. If I keep going up, I go back to the other one, the E flat. It's the same situation with the diminished scale. When you play C diminished, you have one of them, then you have a C sharp and D. If I start again, E flat, then I'm back to the same C. So it's like having 3 different diminished keys, if I can call it this way. So as you notice, it's always a whole step, half step. Now if I start with the half step first, the equivalent of playing D flat diminished, but starting from the C right here. I call that scale C auxiliary diminished, or C double diminished. The diminished scale, the first one we did with the whole step, goes with the diminished chord. The auxiliary diminished, if you start with a half step, goes with 7 flat 9 and 7 sharp 9 chord. Now we're going to look at another scale, the one called the whole tone scale. I'm going to start here from C, and this, as the name says it, you know, it's whole step all the way through. Seems to be a strange scale, but you have it in pop music, like the song Sunshine of My Life of Stevie Wonder. It starts with that particular chord. At the beginning you have a C major chord, C major 7th, and it goes to the G augmented, the G7 sharp 5, and that's where he plays at the introduction that particular scales in thirds. Like that, so you'll recognize it when you play it. So anyway, these scales have to be practiced playing third and 4-note pattern, like I did the same exercise that I did in the major modes. Like if I play the diminished, I can play third. Or the 4-note pattern. Same thing for the auxiliary diminished, of course. And for the whole tone, it would look like this. For the thirds, notice that I'm moving, changing with the 1 here, going down, moving 4/4 here, the fingering. One more time. 1, 1, 1, 4/4. And then of course you practice the 4-note pattern. Because of the fact that it's whole tone like that, when you play C whole tone, you're playing D, you're playing E, you're playing F sharp, you're playing A sharp, etc., etc. You're playing 6 scales. All the notes of that scale are the same, whether you play C whole tone or D whole tone or E or F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. You know, you're playing the same scale. So there 6 of them. It'll be 12 tones. It'll be only 2 scales. You have a C augmented and C sharp. If you go back to, then you're back to the other one. You're back to the first one. So it's like having 2 different augmented keys, basically. The last scale that we didn't talk about within the mode is the chromatic scale. Chromatic is just all the notes of the keyboard after each other. Very practical scale, because you know you can kind of put it a little bit everywhere. You know, it's like as long as you start with the right note and finish with the right note, it will probably fit. And in fact, Chick Corea always says, you know, where would I be without the chromatic scale?